Good evening, everyone. Happy Women's History Month. Welcome to the March 14th Bladensburg Town Council meeting. We will now call tonight's meeting to order. Thank you to everyone who joined us for this meeting tonight. And as we get started, I would like to turn it over to Councilmember Mcbride for the opening prayer.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this council meeting. We ask you to continue to bless us, continue to help us to work in unity and in strength, and give us one mind and love for all, that we may be able to get accomplished the things that needs to be done for the town of Bladensburg. We ask you to continue to protect and guide and direct all of us. In the name of the Lord, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that, Councilmember Mcbride. I know I always feel like we're on the right track after you finish those opening prayers, so thank you for that. The next item we have is the approval of the agenda, and I do want to note that we have the Chief of Staff for Delegate Diana Fennell with us, and that is Ms. Wanda Gorman. And so would ask if we could add her to the appearances section of the agenda. So I'll just make that notation once we're going through discussion for the vote. So with that, I'll call for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember Rout.
Yes, in our last, in our work session, we were going to amend a few things. We were going to add something to our agenda. And I just want to make sure that we are all okay with those amendments. We stated we were going to be, now I can't find my agenda. I'm sorry. We were saying that we were going to be possibly talking about Mml approval, and then the proclamation is on for us now. But was there anything else? I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything because I can't find my agenda right now in front of my face.
Correct. Both of those items are listed on the council meeting agenda under new business.
Okay.
Great, and no problem. And as I mentioned, I did want to just add Ms. Wanda Gorman under appearances, and also want to call out that I did jump ahead. So after we approve the agenda, want to jump back and do the Pledge of Allegiance. So Vito, just giving you a heads up, we'll need the flag queued up. So with that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. So at this time, I think Mr. Tonelli has the flag over his right shoulder, it looks like.
And I think Rick can put the flag up too. If I'm
oh, that's right. There we go. All right.
Oh, that's nice.
All right. So here we go. Stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And for our viewing audience, we apologize for the internet. It like sort of creates a delay. We seem like we're saying it in sync, but some come through faster than others. So
Yeah.
appreciate your patience with that. And so again, moving to the next item on the agenda, we would like to go into appearances with Ms. Wanda Gorman from the Office of Delegate Diana Fennell. So over to you, Ms. Gorman.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. And to the Mayor and Council of Bladensburg, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak at your meeting. I am so glad to be here, so glad to see all of you. Haven't seen you since I guess the mayor swearing in, right? That's when I saw you all last together. But I'm glad to be here tonight. I bring greetings from Delegate Diana Fennell. Of course, you know she's in session right now, but she wanted me to bring greetings to you all. The bond bills should be should be coming up for hearing soon. So I'm not quite sure what the date is, but I know they're coming up very shortly. I didn't work today, so I know an email came out about it. So I'm not sure exactly what the date is, but they should be hearing the bond bill soon. I need to congratulate you all on your library. It's coming up real good. I just happened to go past there and I saw, oh my gosh, the library will be ready in no time. But I just wanted to, I'm really here to also make sure that you all got the flyer out to the community about the grocery giveaway. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows about it. That's one of the important facts that District 47 is co-hosting it with Shabbat Ministries. Also, gosh, I'm doing this off the cuff because I left my notes. I'm in my vehicle. Let me think. Wait a minute. I can't even think. I forgot right now. But session will end next month, and then should be able to make some of the meetings, hopefully. As you all know, she is home. Well, she's back in Maryland now. She was in California, but she's back in Maryland now. And I guess everything is going well. I don't have really too much to report. They're trying to make, her bill is being heard tomorrow about Tuskegee Airmen. We're trying to get them to have a special day like everybody else has. So we're trying to recognize them, the Tuskegee Airmen, for their service to us. And I think that's about it. Her healthy food bill got through. So I don't know. It made it through her committee. So economic matters. So it's going on to the floor. I don't know if it's at the third reading yet or not, but everything is going well for her. I don't have anything else to report. Do you all have questions for me that I can take back to her or perhaps answer?
Thank you, Ms. Gorman, for that update. The one question I have, and I'll go around the horn as well, but is it too late to submit any sort of letters of support for the bill regarding the Tuskegee Airmen?
Yes, it's going to be heard tomorrow, and it had to be submitted by yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, it had to be submitted by yesterday. So it's being heard in Health and Government Operations tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Well, tomorrow afternoon.
All right. Thank you for
Yes,
that.
it
And
had
thank
to be
you
submitted by
also.
yesterday.
Okay. Understood. And then I believe Mr. Mcbride can answer the notifications regarding the giveaway.
Right.
Mr. Mcbride, did that go out in the last e-blast?
I'm seeing Rich nodding his head, so I believe
Okay.
the answer is yes. Yeah, I did.
Okay, perfect.
I did see
great.
it. And while I'm on the line, I just wanted to say thank you so much and thank the delegate, please, for the support, not only of the bond bill for the new municipal center, but also for the supporting of the $500,000 grant in the governor's capital budget. We're eager to support you all in lobbying to retain that in the capital budget. So thank you.
Okay. All right. And just for FYI, your bond bill is the #1 priority for her. She's going to list that as the #1 priority coming from her.
That is wonderful news. And again, we
Okay.
thank you and her and the entire team for her support in co-sponsoring that.
Okay.
That is just significant. So just thank you. Thank you for fielding all of our questions and
welcome.
messages, for clarification on the process and being patient with us. So we look forward to getting that across the finish line soon. But
Okay.
appreciate you joining, and we'll see you at the grocery giveaway.
Okay, all right. I'm getting ready to get out of my vehicle. I've finally made it home. So
Okay.
I thank you all again for allowing me to speak on behalf of Delegate Fennell, and I wish you all the very best and have a productive meeting.
Thank you so much, and please give her and the rest of the team our best as well. Have a great
I
evening.
sure will. You all
Okay.
have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
And so I did also see a note from Council Member Rout regarding the other item that we were going to add. I thought we were going to connect with the town administrator to get our ducks in a row in terms of the strategy and then come back to the team. I think that's why we didn't put it on there, council member. Okay, I see the thumbs up. And so the next item that we have before us is the approval of the meeting minutes, starting with the November 8th regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve? I saw your lips, Councilmember Rout. So moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Brown.
Oh, you saw my lips too, right?
Yes.
So-
Yep. I'm telling you, it's either this delay with technology or I don't know. I'll blame gremlins. Is that fair? Just they messed up. I think they're responsible for shutting down the internet on this side of town with that fire. So I'm just blaming the gremlins for everything. Any further discussion on the regular meeting minutes for November 8th? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. The next set of minutes that we need a motion to approve are the January 10th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Mcbride. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. The next item is the public comments. So we'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Charnovich for the public comments to be read.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I jump into the public comments, I wanted to make note that we also submitted the February 14th regular meeting minutes. Did we need to approve those, or did I miss that boat?
You know what? You're right. They're in the packet. They weren't on the agenda. That's my mistake for not catching that because I did review those. And as I was joking in the last meeting, we can't forget our February 14th minutes because it was Valentine's Day and we were here showing love to the community. So, and to our fellow
that was real love.
members. Right. Well, our families were like, can we have Valentine's Day dinner now? Thank you. So with that, is there a motion to approve the February 14th regular meeting minutes?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Moved by Councilmember Mcbride. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Rout. Any discussion? There's discussion for me. I think that anytime we have a future work session or a council meeting on Valentine's Day, we need to provide snacks. Heart cupcakes or something. No, I'm kidding.
I'm with that. I love
cupcake. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you all so much. And Mr. Charnovich, thank you again. As I said, I did read them. They were in the packet, but looking at the agenda, I totally missed that. Sorry. So public comments. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. No problem. Glad we got them approved finally. all the minutes, that is. Okay, so this evening we have 5 total public comments that I'll be reading into the record. So I'll start out with our first comment. And for the record, all 5 comments have been forwarded on via email to the town council. In addition, so you have them for your e-files to review later. Our first comment is from Denise Brown. I wanted to suggest to the mayor and town council that a history center be part of new development in our town. Bladensburg has an important and diverse history going back to 1746. The War of 1812 display at the Bladensburg Waterfront Park is no longer installed. I am not sure what may be at the Indian Queen Tavern. There should be some permanent installation of the history of our town. Parks and Planning has these items in storage. This could include a museum, a tour, and gift shop, not unlike Riversdale House. this could be connected with Boswick House. Denise and Richard Brown. Right. Our second comment this evening is from Susan McCutcheon. Good evening, Mayor and Council, town staff, and Bladensburgers. It is a dark season of graphic death and destruction and world catastrophe, but we humans trudge on nonetheless. While we can become so immersed in the woes of the world over which we have little control, we can only try to grapple with what we face in our lives and do our best to deal with it. I appreciate and applaud anyone who chooses to lead as elected officials, serve as town staff, and labor in many workaday capacities, including residents who volunteer to be a part of community life and lead by their examples of dedication. I continue to fight the SC Maglev project and the tendrils of the deep pockets of the moneyed Baltimore, Washington, Rapid Rail, and Northeast Maglev lobbyists. Our activists also are following several General Assembly legislative session Maglev bills, as well as climate, human rights, and environmental justice bills, all of which have some connection to Maglev issues. Some bills include language to expand the rights of residents to sue in cases where they choose to fight projects that will adversely affect their communities. I am greatly concerned that the Maryland Municipal League is taking an unfavorable position toward this legislation, in some cases indicating in testimony that permitting these actions will hamper progress in municipalities and casting it as allowing for frivolous or unnecessarily time-consuming lawsuits. On the surface, at least to me, this stance indicates that the leaders of municipalities distrust their constituents and that their concerns are once again being trivialized by those in power, even at the local level. Little time remains in session. I urge the town council to weigh on important legislation by submitting testimony for the record and giving oral testimony. Legislators pay particular attention to elected officials and municipalities and need to hear from them, as well as from organizations and constituents. Bladensburg has environmentally green projects and aspirations, as well as major environmental justice concerns in its majority, minority, Black and brown community. So we need to be vigilant and not sidelined by inaction. Thank you for the opportunity to offer my public comments. Susan McCutcheon. All right. Get my water here. I'm getting infamous for my water during my public comments here. All righty. Our third comment is from Brendan Hagenbook. Hope I said your name right, Brendan, if you're out there. I write to support the proposal to require registration for on-street parking on congested town roads and to urge the town to enforce existing parking laws. Currently, many streets have so many cars parked on them that it is difficult or unsafe to drive on them. My street, 51st Street, between Upshur and Varnum, is almost entirely filled with parked cars 24/7. And it's impossible for two cars to fit on this two-lane road as a result of the overparking. The issue is caused by two homes where multiple unrelated individuals live and all park their personal and work vehicles on the street. In addition, many cars park in no parking zones and commercial trucks park overnight, which is against existing town laws. Parking is a scarce resource, and we should be requiring proof of residency and capping the number of registrations per home in order to reduce overcrowding. Brendan Hagenbook. Right. Our fourth comment this evening is from High Fawn. Dear Town Council, as you consider parking registration for on-street parking, please do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. At the last meeting, some council members indicated that enforcement could be a problem, that some residences have multiple vehicles, and that a comprehensive plan for all streets is necessary before taking action. But many municipalities, including including Cheverly and Hyattsville, only impose parking restrictions in certain areas and have handled residences with multiple vehicles. We also have many able officers to enforce regulations, and parking revenue should be used to offset taxes charged to the residents. Details that some council members raised can be worked out over time, but please take action to limit on-street parking to a reasonable number of residents per address to make our community more livable. Hi, Fawn.
We're going to have to get you a bigger water jug.
That's right. Can we use ARPA funds for that? Just kidding. Just kidding. Just a joke. So our final comment this evening, the individual who submitted this comment requested anonymity. So I'm for that sake, out of respect for that request, I'm not going to read the name, but here is the public comment. I want to thank you for discussing my and other town residents' parking concerns on last month's meeting agenda. I would like to briefly make a few comments from what I heard from that meeting regarding the parking issues. It was mentioned that the parking committee concentrated on a segment of the town. This is not true. The committee was comprised of residents from both wards to address the parking problems throughout the town. Meetings were held in Ward 1 and 2 to give all residents an opportunity to provide feedback on this issue. I think Ward 1 addresses the issue more than Ward 2, which gives the appearance that it was only about Ward 1. Furthermore, the committee was created to find solutions to this issue, which I don't recall receiving any outcomes or results from the administration. We were all in this together. I also would like to comment on Councilmember Blunt's concern about a permit parking fee. I do understand and empathize with family and friends coming to provide help to residents at senior apartments. My family and I have to do the same for several elderly family members as well. However, I understand that parking is also a premium at my family locations, and the people who live and pay taxes there should have parking priority over me. It's not going to stop us for helping our loved ones. I would like everyone to please keep in mind that senior apartments have designated parking, and some may even have guest parking. This is also true of condos, townhouses, and regular apartments in the town. Also, please think about the senior resident that lives in a single family home that doesn't have designated parking or a driveway. They have to deal with unavailable on-street parking spaces. All I'm asking of the mayor, council, and staff is to find solutions to these parking problems. I feel that my quality of life is impacted this issue. If nothing is done about this issue, it will only get worse. In closing, I would like to give kudos to our code enforcement department. I have noticed they continue to notice vehicles with warning labels on them. Their enforcement is making a difference so far. I also think it is changing the mindset of law-breaking vehicle owners. Keep up the great work. I would also like to thank Chief Collington for researching information and solutions to combat this problem. I hope you continue, as it will help, at a minimum, maintain my quality of life. All please have a safe and wonderful evening. Thank you, Mayor. That's all.
Great. Thank you for reading all the public comments submitted for tonight. And thank you to all the residents who took the time to submit. Hopefully for those who had specific comments regarding parking, I hope you found value in the discussion tonight, in the work session in particular, where we were discussing those very items and actually had some discussion around documentation that provided some of the statements that we made regarding that. Next, we have unfinished business, and so I'll turn it over to Mr. Mcbride. The two items here are the bond bill recommendation for the Bladensburg Municipal Center and also the town code project. So Mr. Mcbride, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, as I mentioned during the work session, the bond bill fact sheet has been submitted in support of a new Bladensburg Municipal Center that would include, at a minimum, the police functions currently served by the police department and the general government functions served by the administrative side in town hall. So those, we anticipate rebuilding on this same property at 4229 Edmonston Road. And per the council's direction at last meeting, we had submitted a very sparse information sheet, 1-page item, and have since developed that through a dialogue among the department heads and with the town engineer and architect. So, excuse me, the information that was submitted to the state includes a rough cost estimate, given some basic square footages of $8.2 million. And again, that is subject to a deep dive among the council and staff and the community, as was pointed out in the work session. We would want to have a deep engagement and community dialogue with the public about their needs and wishes for this building before the council would finalize its framework for what it wants to have on this site and finalize the project. But in the meantime, the key detail for the moment is asking that the council validate the submittal that has been put forward to the state in support of the bond bill. As you heard from Ms. Gorman earlier, that's Delegate Fennell's #1 priority. And so my hope is that the council voting to ratify that work product moving forward will enable the town government to fully stand behind the staff work that went into it and go down to Annapolis and as needed and lobby in support of that bill and in support of Delegate Fennell and Senator Augustine, who have been terrific about working with us through this process. So if there are questions from the council, I'm happy to take them now, but that's why this is on the both agendas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McRoy. And to be clear, so we need to vote to ratify the bond bill fact sheet submission that was turned in March the 7th, I think that was. Okay, and do we yet know if the date has been published, the bond bill date where everyone has to go to Annapolis? Okay, just checking. All right, so is there a motion? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add, as I mentioned at the work session, there was, no, sorry, that was on the Bostwick. No, I'm commingling the two pieces. They're both seemingly separate parts of the capital budget, but that was a different part of it. So thank you.
Yep, bond bill over here, capital budget request over there. And don't worry, because I sometimes mix them up too. But are there any questions for Mr. McRoy regarding this update? Okay, seeing none, I will ask or call for a vote to ratify the bond bill fact sheet submission that the town submitted on March 7th, 2022. Is there a motion?
I move for the ratification of the fact sheet.
That's Councilmember Rout. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Mcbride. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. And again, we'll be looking with great enthusiasm for an update from our town administrator on bond bill day so we can all show up in big numbers.
Yes.
Yes, agreed. And again, coming back over to you for the town code project update, Mr. McGrory.
Thank you. And just a little bit of the last word. I note something from the bond bill process or from the capital budget process that I did want to clarify. With the Senate rules, what they said was there was some distinction between oral testimony was only being asked for submitters whose submittals to the capital budget had been rejected by the Department of Legislative Services, and others were asked to provide sponsored testimony, which I inferred to be written testimony. So I'm not sure. I know that the House, one chamber is receiving testimony in person and another one is receiving it only through Zoom. So I think there may not be an expectation that the town would be invited to come down if this turns out to be a non-controversial portion of the overall bond bill that goes forward. So I just wanted to put that frame of reference in there whether it's letters of support from individuals that are solicited, or oral testimony through Zoom, or oral testimony in person. We'll get you those answers as we know them. But to the code project, as I mentioned also during the work session, this should be a very straightforward process in clarifying areas of known conflict that general code has reviewed. They did an initial triage of our entire charter and code and came up with 80 pages with maybe not more than 2 comments per page of questions that the town should answer. This was to resolve conflicts between separate language pieces of the code. Staff has now completed, I've received significant input from staff on our thoughts on the code, and that's in the process of being consolidated. Anticipate having that out to you within the next few days. And thereafter, we would put that for the council for your guidance, and I would anticipate a quick run through of those page by page. And if there's any controversial items or things you want to come back to discuss in more detail or debate, we put a pin in those and come back and do a full review. Because this purpose of this process is not to amend or modify the substance of the code, but merely to resolve conflicts, clarify it, and get it up on the web, as many modern jurisdictions are doing. The last 2 updates were, the most recent was in 1998, and the one before that was in 1988. So this will enable us to jump forward and get the code up on the web. Then we can circle back to those specific areas where there are challenges or conflicts or policy areas where the council wants to dig into those develop a deeper understanding and revise that to modernize certain practices. So there's no vote anticipated at this time. I just wanted to give you a preview that is looming in the next steps, and that the council may wish to break that out into bite-sized pieces, whether at work sessions or piggybacking on the budget work sessions. We could do a few pages per work session, 10 or 15 minutes at the beginning of each work session or regular meeting or regular work session as the council sees fit. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. McGrory. And it did sound like we had agreement amongst the council to have some dedicated time to get more familiar and refreshed on the town code. So we definitely look forward to taking you up on that. Again, if you could just poll the council to see schedule-wise what works best, if we need to have a separate work session, or as you mentioned, tag it on to the budget work session. I want to be respectful of other commitments people have, but not let us get too far away from it and be up against a deadline where we've got to vote and haven't really had time to flush things out. So I'm putting that down on your list. I have a Bob list that's growing over here. All right, thank you. And I'm just looking, I didn't see any hands raised. Oh, now I do. Councilmember Rout.
Thank you, Mayor James. I know we're trying to be efficient of our time, but there are substantive changes. It would be beneficial just to schedule a separate work session instead of going back and piecing it together with other things. That's just my suggestion, because if we're doing it over a span of time, it may be more beneficial for our time to just knock it out in a dedicated work session just for the purposes of looking at the code so that we can be able to get that up.
Thank you for that. So if the council, once again, could just send over to Mr. McGrory what your preference would be. I know that was what I mentioned in the work session initially, having a dedicated meeting to address it, but don't want to speak for the group. So if you all could just, as I said, Mr. McGrory, poll the group, see what works best, and get our availability, so at least we can get that on the calendar quickly, because the spring is already off to a crazy start, and I'd rather go ahead and lock that date in, knowing we also have the budget work sessions coming up, which is a whole nother layer of a series of meetings in and of itself. Sound good? Great.
So my
yes,
hand
Councilmember
raising my
Brown.
I'm getting better. I'm trying to go through these icons here. So could we not just let Mr. McGrory know tonight what our preference is?
Or if you could email him in the interest of time, because we still have quite a bit to get through on the agenda, send him what your available times and dates are. Does that work? And honestly, I don't have my work calendar in front of me, so I'd rather have time to be able to
No, okay.
pull rather than giving
I
dates.
think it
And,
would be, okay. Or
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, or should he send some dates out so that we can respond and say, so that he's not getting like dates from everybody?
Yeah, Mr. Mcbride is pretty good at polling us and getting things set up. So I'm confident he
Okay.
can handle getting it scheduled. I don't want to tell him how to do it, but Mr. Mcbride,
Okay.
he can handle that. Yeah. Okay.
That's a light task.
Exactly. He's got that down. We'll micromanage him on other stuff. Not scheduling a meeting. No. Just kidding. All right, so now we've got some exciting new things coming our way under financial business. And if you weren't excited enough about tonight's meeting, now it's really going to get exciting because we're about to talk about finances, and that is important to all of us. So budget matters is item A under section agenda item 9, that is, and we're going to start with the constant yield presentation by Mr. Vito Tonelli. So I'll turn it over to him unless Mr. Mcbride, you had a preamble that you wanted to give before he kicks it off.
No preamble, only to note that as soon as you're about to kick it to Mr. Tonelli, my internet said the internet is unstable. So I anticipate he's going to break the internet right out of the gate. Thank you.
I think something is going on because I've gotten that same message, which is why I was asking you all before if I'm still here, because I think I am. So for the viewing audience, please bear with us. It's been an odd day for the internet over here. So with that, Mr. Tonelli, I'll turn it over to you.
It's just all my followers jumping on at the same time to see this, Mayor. So
Exactly.
I'm kidding. But Mayor, that is a great lead up to this and a great way to sell, the financials. I know it's not the, the most interesting piece, but it is important. I'm going to share something. It's a constant yield presentation. This is a recycled presentation, but I updated it. But I think it's important. I got 5 minutes to, so I'm starting my clock right now, Mayor, so I don't go over. But I'm going to share this presentation real quick. And okay, can everybody see the constant yield concept? Everybody see it? Thumbs up. I lost some of y'all when I did this.
Yes, it looks like it says you started to share your screen, but it says double click to enter full screen mode.
Do you see the presentation?
So I don't see it on my end, but council members, are you, okay, I'm seeing head shaking, no.
Wrong, but nope, can't see it.
It does say in the
It
green
says
bar
that you
above that
started
we're
sharing.
viewing. Yeah. If you want to turn it off, Vito, and then try it again, sometimes just turning stuff off and back on is enough to refresh.
I don't see anything. Yeah, what's it look like?
So we still have the black screen and it says
Okay.
Vito Tonelli.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I just ran into Rich's office to see what you all are seeing because
Oh, okay.
Talk about technical difficulties, but we.
Yeah, it's that kind of day.
Hey, Vito, do you want me to try sharing it from here? I've got it.
I think the internet is tired, folks.
Okay, it doesn't like me doing this. 1 second.
Okay. So you turned it off. So yeah, if you try
again. See the
again.
presentation. I'm gonna try this again. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes.
All right. Everybody hear anything okay?
Yes, we can still hear you, but it doesn't look like you've
Yeah.
started sharing your
I'm
screen
gonna have
yet.
Bob skip to the. I'm gonna have Bob skip to the budget calendar, and I'm gonna reset.
Okay, we're seeing.
Can you all see that?
We are. Can you just, there you go.
Yes.
I was gonna say, can you make it full screen? Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Vito, hang on, let me go back. Sorry, I started in the middle. There you
That's all
go.
right.
You see that page 1?
Yes, thank you. Mine did not like doing that at all, talking about crashing things.
So just tell me when you want me to change slides, but I'll, and it's in PDF, so it's not gonna, that would be less bandwidth than showing the PowerPoint.
Okay, let's do this real quick. Okay, I already dropped 3 minutes on that one. Everybody hear me okay? Can see Bob's slide presentation? Okay, thumbs up. Okay. Okay, so this is how we start our budget process. Talking about Valentine's Day, the State Department of Assessments and Taxation gives us our constant yield notice on February 14th of every year. And what this does is it starts our budget process because it lets us know how much the property tax assessments are going to increase, which brings in more tax revenues, and those tax revenues are almost 2/3 of our budget. So anytime we see an increase there, it'll offset other increases in our budget. Now, it's called a constant yield notice because it is looking at what your tax rate should be based on the rise in property assessment. So you get the same tax revenue as a previous year. And so what happens is property tax revenues increase by 3.1%. They want the property tax rate to decrease by 3.1%, so the revenues stay constant. And it's written in the Maryland tax code that if you set a tax rate anything above the constant yield notice, it's advertised as a tax increase. Sounds great, but in theory, we haven't increased our taxes in decades, but because property tax assessments are increasing, the constant yield wants the tax to decrease, but we keep our tax the same, so our tax rate is always higher than a constant yield rate. So it has to be advertised as a tax increase. And we go through this process every year. It's a little bit confusing, but here's what the notice looks like. Bob, if you can go to the next screen. So you can see FY22 assessments are at $530 million. Okay, that's how much assessable property is in our 1.1 square mile area of town. At our current tax rate, it brings in $3,922,000 of revenue to the town, which again is about 2/3 of our budget, roughly. Okay, Bob, if you could scroll down. So what's happening is the assessments are increasing for beginning July 1, 2022 to $546 million. But you see how the constant yield wants you to receive the same revenue next year as we do this year. So how does it do that? Property assessments went up. It wants to decrease our tax from 0.74 down 3.1% to 7.177. That's what this is all about. So it's just a mechanism to show the increased revenues from increased assessments and what the tax rate should come down to get the same revenue as a prior year. Bob, if you go to the next slide, please. And we can just go to the next one. So this is it, and just to sum it up, our FY23 real property revenues have increased 3.1%. So constant yield rate wants to decrease by 3.1%. But if you see there at the bottom, municipalities can set any property tax rate they want to. Okay, but it must conduct a constant yield tax rate hearing if our revenues increase by more than $25,000. So the process looks like this. We have to advertise it in a local paper. You go to the next slide, Bob. That's just a calculation again. We can skip over that. This is the ad that has to go into the paper. It goes in every year. And MML has something in the billboard or the bond board, not bond board, but the billboard, I think, to change this process because it has to be advertised in a local paper. The problem is that local papers are, they're few and far between anymore. So we're hoping to get more advertising mediums, such as on our website or social media or something. But this is a required ad that has to be approved by the state of Maryland and ran 7 to 21 days prior to our constant yield hearing. And our constant yield hearing is on May the 9th, 2022. That will be part, if you go back to the previous ad, Bob. That is during our regularly scheduled council meeting. Just so you know, for people watching, new council members, we pause the council meeting and we go into the constant yield hearing and we read all this and open up for comments just for the tax rate. Then the council closes the constant yield hearing and then goes back into the council meeting. But that's in May. I'm just trying to, to give everybody a primer now of the process. And you go next slide, Bob. And that is just what a penny is worth of taxes in the town. And you can see that based on the increase of assessments of 3.1%, we're going to generate just over $4,044,000 of revenue for FY23 budget. Now, you could argue for it, against it, but rising costs right now. The issue is that I'm seeing is, this is the assessments have gone up 3.1%, and this is 2/3 of our budget. The issue we're seeing right now is the CPI numbers, the inflation numbers I just ran for January, that are most current for this area, was 6%, and Baltimore, Towson area is at 9% just for last month. And I think by the time we do the budget, it's going to be a double-digit inflationary index. And we're going to have to come up with that. There's that gap there. So that's something that we will have to talk about in budget time. So talking about a $7 million, roughly budget, and you have like a 6 or 7% spread between your increase in assessments and your inflationary index, then that's going to create, several $100,000 of a gap there trying to fill. But we're just starting the process. I'm just putting this all out there now. So, and we will be getting better data, and things are changing daily. Things go up, but they could come back down. So, but that's all I have for right now. If anybody has any questions, just trying to do a primer. Bob, if you can jump in, because Bob's been through this for several years as well. Get a fresh set of a fresh voice to it as well.
Thank
No,
you,
I think-
Mr. Tonelli.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, over to you, Mr. McGrory.
No, I think that's well stated. And I will, the latest numbers I was seeing based on February's numbers was inflation's at an annualized rate of 7.9% as of February. So again, we usually take that guidance from the Maryland Municipal League in their policy documents, and they bounce that out to us periodically during the budget process. But it's, if your assessments have only gone up 3.1% and the presumed new net revenue goes up 3.1% and your costs have all gone up 7.9%, obviously the payroll that we capture, unless there are COLAs put in, means that what we pay our staff is being eroded by the loss in value of the dollar, loss in purchasing power. So just wanted to put down a marker on that. And thank you. I think that was a nice presentation.
I agree. It was a good presentation, and it's good for us to be reminded of that every year. So, Mr. Tonelli, I appreciate you refreshing the presentation each year just to walk us through, because each time that you do it, there may be new residents hearing it for the first time. So thank you for, just not assuming, oh, everyone knows this, but really taking the time to walk everyone through it. And I know when we start the budget work sessions, we'll have even more time to talk through it. And even from the council perspective, answer more questions that they may come back with. Residents might reach out to them between now and then as well with some additional questions for you. So again, thank you for that presentation.
No problem. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Just didn't like sharing
Yeah, it's computers. They have attitudes sometimes. So the next item is
I
still
have
in
a
your camp.
question.
Oh, sorry, Councilmember Rout.
Yes. Given the financial situation that the country is presently in, so could you help me? I know I've been through this 2 times, but Mr. Tonelli, could you help me understand the last opportunity that residents have to submit a comment or public comment? Is it officially open now? And when will it close? Could you please help me with the timeline?
They could send you comments at any time. I mean, you obviously you represent them, you know, you're gonna be talking to them and everything. But I mean, but as far as talking to the town about it, really, I'm gonna defer this to Rich or Bob. I think you can really talk about it during public comment at any time, but we have to have a specified meeting just for the constant yield hearing to open up questions just for constant yield. So I guess in theory, people could talk about it at any time, but we have to have we have to go through a process ourselves to say this is the official hearing where we're going to talk about it within the council meeting.
Thank you. You made it very clear.
Is that right, Bob? Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
And of course, we always welcome comments. I mean, anytime about the financials or anything. So we welcome any questions or comments, and you can defer them to us, or we can do them at a council meeting, and we will get back to them as quickly as possible.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Rout, and Mr. Tonelli for that response. At this time, we'll move forward with new business. And first, we have vehicle replacement for purchase approval. Is that our town administrator?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. So we have been pleased to report that the police department has been staffing up and filling vacant positions, and is on the cusp of doing that with some more vacancies. As such, in looking at the vehicle inventory, it has become apparent that we need to have another vehicle to put on the street. And there was one that was wrecked back in, I want to say, April of 2021. So this, because the staffing lag has lagged the need of putting vehicles on the street, we need to get in front of that by having another vehicle available for our police department. With the availability of ARPA funding and the budget amendment that the council passed last meeting, we now have the cash flow ability to do that within the ARPA budget. And we can then, at some future point, amend the budget as needed to reallocate that if we want to put that back on general funds and reserve those ARPA funds for something else. But the council generously made $350,000 available for ARPA funding between now and the end of June. And so this seems like a very pertinent way of putting that to immediate use for the benefit of the police department and getting more officers on the street in top quality vehicles. So I think if there are questions from the council, either I can answer them or Chief Collington.
Sure. And before we move to questions, Chief, anything else you want to add for the benefit of the council or residents? And then we'll go to council questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council, community colleagues. Mayor, only thing I would like to add is that, in the times that we are now filling positions and for retention and recruitment, we are desperately trying to phase out the old Impalas that we have. You've seen them sitting over there with the, I'm halfway embarrassed to hire a new employee to the town of Bladensburg, where we have so much pride, and tell them that that's going to be their assigned cruiser. Something with all the decals are faded. The cars are, like a 2009 or 2012, and we want them to stay with us when other agencies are, desperately recruiting as well and have sufficient vehicles for their staff. So, we just want to project that, the professional image. And as Mr. Mcbride, and I thank him for doing a fantastic job of presenting that. But, just additionally, we just want to make sure that we have enough reliable vehicles that our officers can drive safely and respond to the needs of the community. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Chief. Yeah, we definitely don't want them breaking down on the side of the road in those old Impalas and having to get a jump on the way to a call for service. That is not okay. So first hand I see is Councilmember Rout.
Thank you, Mayor James. Last quarter, we had a presentation of the financials as presented by Mr. Tonelli and Chief Collington. And for the purposes of weighing the upkeep of the Impalas versus purchasing a new capital outlay, I am in support of this because of the bill that it takes to provide the necessary upkeep of the Impalas. And so if we can't continue to dump and pour resources, financial resources into the older vehicles. I mean, older vehicles that have a shelf life. You know, vehicles have, I mean, not older vehicles, vehicles have a shelf life. And I think that we've gotten a lot of use out of some of our older fleet. And, you know, sometimes it's just time, right? And so I am in support of this. I yield.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Rout. So with that, Mr. McCrory, if there are no more questions from the council, I'm going to go ahead and call for a formal motion. So is there a motion to approve the vehicle replacement and purchase request from staff for a new cruiser for the police department?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Rout. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you all so much for this.
Good counsel.
So the next item, continuing with new business, is the MOU with Amen Trust for the Bostwick House property. And I know we talked quite a bit about it, but Mr. McGrory, would you like to just recap it for residents who may not have tuned in to the work session?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, as was alluded to previously in the meeting, we have a $500 line item in the governor's capital budget that is now actively under consideration by the legislature. The Amen Memorial Trust was founded in 1984 and has an overlapping mandate. Their mandate is specifically to accentuate and preserve historic buildings in the town of Bladensburg and historic monuments. They made note of pointing that out, that they were responsible for construction of the War of 1812 Memorial on the anniversary of the Battle of Bladensburg in 2014. I believe that memorial was established. So I had a very productive meeting with the trustees, the Board of Trustees, late last week, and talked about our working relationship and how the town was eager to move forward with them. And they've been very supportive of the town's efforts, specifically on Bostwick, but also relating to other historic properties in town from the colonial era. And there are quite few of them: the Market Master's House, the Mcbride House, Free Hope Baptist Church, which I believe now is St. Paul's, and there's one other that I'm failing to mention, the George Washington House, now the home of Anacostia Watershed Society. Yep. This MOU was provided as an update to a 2016 MOU between the town and Amen Trust, but that only lasted for a year. That had a termination date. And since then, the town has received, thanks to the support of the NDC, which was funded by the Amen Trust. They helped facilitate a process, a stakeholder series of meetings in 2021, and made some preliminary recommendations, kind of a scoping document about a long-term adaptive reuse of this historic property that is more than 5,000 square feet and sits on roughly 10 acres of land in the town of Bladensburg. So the MOU is designed to frame that relationship and sort of put some specificity to how Amen Trust and the town can work together on the next steps in conceiving that adaptive reuse, in doing the architectural assessments that would be needed given the historic sensitivities around this property. So I've asked the council during the work session to provide me your feedback on the draft MOU that was put forward to you with staff comments. And again, for a legislative body to negotiate with one voice, best way to do that is provide your input to staff. We'll recharacterize that. And if there's consensus agreement, we can move that forward at the next regular meeting. And if not, we can facilitate such work sessions or closed sessions to finalize those negotiations. And the one point of clarification is that there is a RFP described in the draft memorandum of understanding, and council and staff would need to review that RFP or remove the reference to it from the MOU. So with that said, there's no action required of the town at this point, or the town council. Thank you.
And we did agree, Mr. Mcbride, to get you feedback by the end of the week for that from each of us. So please look out for that. And I encourage everyone, call if you have questions and just need some clarifications before offering some feedback. But again, thank you for that update. The next item is the Mml Summer Conference and its relation to our June council meeting, because the June meeting does fall within the dates for Mml this year. So thank you, Mr. Charnovich, for pointing that out to us. We did discuss in the previous meeting needing to move our June meeting. June is a big month for the council because that is the meeting where we typically will finalize the budget and adopt it at the June council meeting. So the thought was to maybe have it June 6th, which is the Monday before the current date. And that way, if we have to make adjustments, we've still got plenty of time within the month of June to adjust the meeting date and still allow staff the necessary time to be able to make any sort of final revisions before the budget is approved. Quick synopsis of it, as I said in the work session, we did go into it a little bit more, but anything else anyone would like to add in terms of the update? Okay. The next item is, and I'm sorry, before I move on, the other thing we agreed to do was to let Mr. Mcbride know if we are planning to attend MML so that we can take advantage of some discounted rates on registration and travel. So again, council and staff who are planning to attend, please run that up through email to Mr. Mcbride so the necessary accommodations can be made to fit your respective schedules. And there is a copy, as Mr. Charnovich pointed out earlier, in the council packet, so you can see the schedule for when specific classes are being offered and the dates and times for those. Okay, now truly moving on to item D, Women's History Month recognition. So again, we're so honored to be celebrating Women's History Month in the month of March. And I will turn it over to Mr. Charnovich as he and his team have been working on this agenda item. Before I do that, Mr. Mcbride, did you just raise your hand or did I miss that? I'm sorry, between looking up and down, I keep missing hands.
No,
Sorry.
and I always feel like I'm crowding Women's History Month, which is never my intent to try and grab the mic back from our esteemed women colleagues on the town council. But Mr. Charnovich pointed out, and I believe we glossed over the draft budget calendar that was intended to immediately follow the constant yield presentation. And I was hoping to get that in as a piggyback on the discussion of changing the council meeting date for June, because if you look at the draft budget calendar that I put together, it did presume that the council would modify the June meeting date to June 6th. You don't have to do that. And I'm not asking for a vote on the budget calendar, but I just wanted to put it forth as a framework for your consideration. And if there are questions on it, the intent of this was to really give an overview of kind of every hit at every meeting during calendar 2022, in which you are talking specifically about the budget for fiscal year 2023. So starting in January, we talked about the tax differential to kind of frame that, as we did tonight with the constant yield process. And there was a brief preview of the budget process. Moving to March now, we just had the discussion of the constant yield tax hearing process. And this item is the budget calendar. And we've anticipated that starting at the April meeting, the regular work session and meeting in April, that you at the work session do a fiscal year review of the first 3 quarters of the current fiscal year, fiscal 2022, as a way of projecting forward how likely you are to have hit the mark in the current year budget. And then you'll receive the town administrator, per the charter, the town administrator submits the budget to the council. And that'll take place at the regular meeting in April, on April 11th. And then we've put in place 2 different work sessions specific to the budget. So those are currently put on the calendar for April 20th. That's a Wednesday, just to diversify the nights of the weeks in case people can come to one but not the other. And the other one is for Tuesday, April 26th. And that gives staff a chance to do it. So you would go department by department through the budget. And then at the May work session, there would be again, an overview of any informal guidance that the council had given to staff about tweaks to the budget you may have given during the work sessions. And you could formalize that or review or see the results of changes that you've recommended at the May work session. And then at the May, would be a special meeting, and I think Mr. Tennelly just described this constant yield tax rate hearing. I put it in for 6 p.m. As he said, you customarily do that as a break in your regular 7 p.m. meeting. So I'll modify that in the next draft of this budget calendar for fiscal 23. And then you'd have the first reading at the May 9th regular 7 p.m. meeting. First reading of ordinance. We're on pace to have that be ordinance 02-2022, because the only other one was the ARPA ordinance thus far. And at that meeting, and I usually recommend this to councils, that they, by whatever formality, approve the tax rate at that meeting. So you've had the constant yield hearing, you've had the first reading of the ordinance, and this sort of presumably locks in the tax rate for the future year. Now, the town of Bladensburg hasn't changed its tax rate in more than a decade. But by doing that, it sort of fixes the revenue side of the budget. So then you would focus your remaining, you're well into the budget preparation process, and that kind of locks the revenue side so that then the discussions are, if any, moving things around on the expenditure side. It doesn't legislatively formalize that because that is, the tax rate is actually built into the ordinance, and that would not get adopted prior to the second reading on June 6th. So then on the June 6th work session, if needed, you'd have more discussion of the budget and any last minute amendments. And then finally, at the regular meeting on June 6th, the ordinance would receive second reading and is then ready for adoption. So hopefully there's ample to the comment that was made earlier about the opportunities for the public to be heard at these processes. I think looking at this calendar, at every one of those, there's a chance for public comment in writing through the members of the council or through oral testimony should things evolve to the point where the council is reopening that to public input. So that's just a snapshot overview. Again, there's no vote required at this time. People can check their calendars, look at it. If there's tweaks that need to be made, the only thing is with those departmental reviews, we want to be sure that the key department staff are there to field questions from the council about the departmental budgets. But this process is designed to suit you and educate you about your budget. And that is, as I've always said, as a former elected official myself, the action on the municipal budget is really in my opinion, maybe the most important thing that legislative bodies do in small local governments like ours. You set the goals and leadership and direction for the staff through your budgeting and allocation of resources, and frame the policies for the communities thereby. So there doesn't need to be a detailed discussion or action of any kind on this budget, but I'm certainly open to questions should the council have any. Thank you for letting me circle back to that.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mcbride. And just one point of clarification. So we do normally start the work session and then pause at 6 to go into the constant yield hearing. You had made mention of amending the 7 p.m. meeting for that, but we do that prior to. So just wanted to call that out. I know you weren't here for when we went through this previously, but it works out nicely to just have that dedicated time for it right at 6. Any questions for Mr. Mcbride regarding the schedule Okay. And again, once you have time to compare with your calendars, if you could just let them know if there is a conflict so we can circle back to those dates and make sure this works for you all, that would be great. And the next item is back to you, Mr. Charnovich, on Women's History Month.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So as we touched upon in the council work session this evening, the town staff wanted to put together something to honor and recognize Women's History Month for both our first ever all woman town council and also women in Bladensburg and everywhere. So it's a very celebratory month. So we wanted to put together this proclamation, which I will read for everyone this evening. So it's a Women's History Month proclamation. Whereas the town of Bladensburg, Maryland, recognizes March as Women's History Month. And whereas Bladensburg celebrates the first all-women council in the town's 280-year history. And whereas the town of Bladensburg will continue to celebrate Women's History Month and honor the extraordinary achievements of women of every race, class, and ethnic background, and promote Bladensburg trailblazing women of the past and present. Now, therefore, the Council of the Town of Bladensburg, Maryland, does hereby proclaim the month of March as Women's History Month in the town of Bladensburg. Further, we encourage all town residents to celebrate Women's History Month. Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you. And you made it through all that without having to grab water. Good job. Thank you again to you and Mr. Jeffries. Right, there you go. Thank you again for you and Mr. Jeffries taking the lead on putting that together. We certainly appreciate the recognition, and I want to celebrate the women who are serving on the council with me. And thank you for all of your leadership. With that, is there a motion to approve the proclamation and celebration of Women's History Month?
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to the staff for calling out the significance of the all-female servant leaders. That is really special, and we appreciate that recognition. At this time, we want to move into the Shot Spotter program. So I guess this would be a combination of Mr. McGrory and Chief Collington.
Thank you. Well, Chief, if you don't mind, I'll just take the lead on this. I was wanting to encourage the pricing, and the staff had was received within the past week and a half, as well as the video. And again, given the ARPA budget amendment, we've now got some spending authority for this item, which is not inexpensive, as you'll see from the packet. With that said, reference was made to a service level agreement. And my hope was, I believe Chief Collington has discussed this with the council going back presumably before my tenure. You all are aware of this product. So my thought and hope had been initially that this would be in front of the council, and if the council sees fit, you could make a motion to approve it with or without certain contingencies. Since reference was made to a service level agreement and a contractual framework, I would anticipate that you would have such a contingency, but I'm open to the pleasure of the council. I just simply wanted to expedite the possibility of deploying this terrific technology at the earliest convenience, given the very well written and persuasive memo put forth by Chief Collington about this product. So I can defer to Chief Collington for anything additional that he would like from the council on this.
Thank you, Mr. McGrory. Chief, would you like to add anything here?
Man, the only thing I would just like to add that, with the ever evolving technology, and to give us a fair chance at enhancing our abilities to better serve the community, I would urge the council to strongly consider enrolling into the shot spotter technology program. This will not only pinpoint the locations of where shots will be fired, may have been fired from, but it would also give us the ability to respond to the call and save lives, because we're not running around. Someone might hear the call 3 streets over, 4 streets over, hear the shots go out and make a call and say, I think it's this way, and send us in the wrong direction. With this technology, within 60 seconds, we'll pinpoint the location where the shots are. And then it has the ability to differentiate between a gunshot and fireworks. So our dispatchers will be able to tell our callers, our residents, whether that was a shot or whether it was fireworks. It would also save lives on the police officers trying to expedite into the community, knowing it's not a gunshot that went off, it was actually fireworks. And the last thing I would just want to add, it would also enhance our investigators. It would give them time to gather the evidence and enhance their abilities to close cases swiftly. And because we just closed a case that took about 3 weeks for us to close, and it was a incident involving a shots fired in the neighborhood through a occupied dwelling, and it took our detectives about 3 weeks to bring that case to closure. Had we had something like the shot spotter, it would have set us right on top of the incident and expedited that investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and apologies because I'm coming off a crazy week with work, but did we do an RFP to get down to this point? I just want to make sure we're following our processes. Or does this fall under, one of the special contingencies named in the charter where it's deemed a public safety emergency, therefore the council does have the discretion to move forward? I just want to make sure we're following our processes.
Well, I think you're right on both points, Mayor. First of all, there are no other competitors for the shot spotter. They are the only company that provides this technology. And secondly, I think that it does fall under the emergency public safety.
Thank you for that, Chief. Councilmember Rao, thank you for your patience. I just wanted to let Chief Collington give some more commentary before we started questions. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor James. With the service agreement being mentioned, I would like to recommend to my colleagues that we have our town attorney ensure that it's legally sufficient. Although I am in favor of the shot spotter, we actually have been talking about this for about 1.5 to 2 years as a public safety tool. So if we are entertaining a motion tonight, I do recommend to my colleagues that we put a contingency in our motion that it's approved based on the approval of our town attorney to ensure for legal sufficiency. Are you?
Councilmember Rao, thank you for that feedback and making a note. And Councilmember Brown, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Rout. Yeah, definitely wanting to, looking at the SLA, having our attorney to look at that, and but looking at the quote, so the subscription, and so it's an annual subscription fee. Is that correct, Jay?
Yes, that's correct.
And the subscription fee is $59,400 a year.
Yes. So if I can just add, now what that gives us in a 1.2 square mile radius, they will come out and install 20 to 26 sensors on the highest buildings. And what that does is when the shot go off, it will help triangulate exactly to where we are. So there's nothing that we would have to do. This is just a subscription to the program. And when we have the other team behind the scenes, the ShotSpotter staff doing all of the technical work and sending the information to us within 60 seconds.
So the ShotSpotter staff, is that our police officers, or the ShotSpotter staff come with that subscription fee?
The
Annual
ShotSpotter
subscription?
staff comes with it. They work from their location.
Mhm.
But like I said, they will install 20 to 26 sensors in this 1.2 square mile radius. So
Mhm.
once that the shot go off, we have within 60 seconds, and as you saw, it has a 90% accuracy rate,
Mhm.
And
which should save
Councilmember,
lives.
oh, sorry, Chief, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
That's okay, man. I'm okay.
So the question, Councilmember Brown, in terms of the unit price, it is 49,500 per square mile, but because we're 1.2 square miles, that 0.2 is what drove it up to the 59,400.
Yeah,
And
that
then as
was gonna be my
Mr.
next question when I was
Yeah, so
looking at
that's why there's the
the.
difference there. But then as Mr. was it Teachman said in his presentation, so they have the experts at their control center. So when the shots go off, they immediately get that ping. They send the alert to our dispatchers, but also to all of our cruisers, to their individual computers that are within their cruisers. And it's compatible with like your Apple Watch or your Samsung Watch. And so they showed the two different main applications that you have for that sort of wearable technology. So again, they get the initial signal and they push it out from those sensors to our emergency personnel so that they can react quickly. And he did talk a little bit more in depth too about just the distinctions. I think Councilmember Rao had raised that question. How does it know fireworks, from other sounds? And so they do have the
Right.
sophistication. But I will tell you, I'm getting nervous because it is now March 14th. And for whatever reason, the warmer it gets, we see some inappropriate behavior, and a lot of it is with gunshots in the community. And by the time the officers get there, even with a 2 or 3 minute response rate, by the time they get to the general area where we may think as a caller we heard it, they can't always get there in time because there's no immediate definitive information on the call. Whereas with this, we specifically can get that data to let the officers know exactly where the shots were fired from, so they can respond more accurately. And I will tell you, just being over here in Ward 2, it's been frustrating because I've seen the efforts of our police officers trying to get illegal guns off the streets, and they do their part, they lock these folks up, and for whatever reason, they get released back into our communities and they continue doing it. So that it's just this revolving door. And I feel like this is a huge solution, and that definitely will save lives, whether it's residents or our first responders. And that price tag to me is far better than having to face someone's family and explain why we didn't step up the measures that we could in order to try to reduce these kinds of fatalities.
But
But I'm
thank you,
sorry,
man,
I see
for
your hand is still up. I'm sorry.
no, yeah, but thank you. After the chief, then no, but thank you for giving a little further explanation to the residents who are on the call and online here. And with this, is this something that would be put in the budget as a budget line item, going forward over the course of the year?
Correct. So that would be something that we as the council would need to decide to fund each year in the police department budget.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilmember Rowd, I see your hand.
I mean, by the way, and I
Oh,
definitely
sorry.
think, our police officers, I mean, they really do, they put their lives on the line for us every day, and whatever tools that our police department, can have to enhance their daily safety and the safety of our residents. And I'm definitely always supportive of it.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate that, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Rowd.
Yes. So with the price tag moving forward, we can look at other mechanisms to fund this on an annual basis, looking at our tickets from our cameras. We can also look at our seizures. This Chief Collington was the first chief to activate the use of our the funds that we use to seize monies and necessary items to be able to fund public safety initiatives. So I don't want to spook our taxpayers to think that we are signing up for a $59,000 price tag. I know that our town leadership, they do have a plan in place to being able to move this necessary price tag forward so that we can be able to balance the fiscal needs of our town. I know this was heavily discussed at our last budget session, which maybe I'm more familiar with it. And then I want to add something, Mayor James, to what you were stating, is that with this price, we will be supported with the necessary standard operating procedures in the police department. There is a department within ShotSpotter that they can be able to support Chief Collington with his general orders as it relates to how to operationalize. So not only are we getting the actual equipment that, to my understanding, is under warranty, but we are also getting the individuals that will be able to dispatch, and we're being able to get policy workers that will be able to infuse the necessary language in our general orders. So, I mean, that's a lot. We're not just paying for this service. We're getting a whole comprehensive opportunity to enhance our public safety. I yield.
Thank you for that. So hearing all of the feedback, I'll call for a motion to approve the subscription to ShotSpotter pending the, and this is contingent upon legal sufficiency being provided by our attorney. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any further discussion? Mr. Mcbride, I missed your hand earlier. Is this discussion for the current item? I'm telling you, this internet is not fun tonight. It's like a huge delay.
Well, I was just trying to get in front of the motion. Not having seen the services agreement, and I'm looking at the specific language on the quotation. And the prospect, I was simply positing a potential workaround and way of expediting absent individual legal review. If, as I believe, that the service level agreement is comparable to and demonstrably comparable to other agreements that have been entered into by agencies such as Washington, D.C. and others, I could make the case that having Bladensburg's town attorney do yet another legal review of that is for sure going to slow it down, and one might not be necessary if the council feels that comparable agreements are functionally equivalent. So I would just put out that you could make that part of your motion, that if other jurisdictions' attorneys have reviewed this document and found it legally sufficient for a municipal corporation, that the town could piggyback on that notion. Similar, when we hire T-Mobile and Verizon to provide us cell service, we don't, in my experience, the individuals don't customarily go through and have their legal counsel go through service level agreements. And I defer to the chief on this if he has a different opinion, but I could give other examples of where clients of Gmail or Outlook and all of those have extensive boilerplate legal agreements that we don't necessarily route for legal review. So that's my only comment on that. And the other thing I'll just add while I have the floor is it is written here as if factually true that it's 1.2 square miles for the town of Bladensburg, but at roughly $5,000 per tenth of a square mile, I would argue that we might want to look at, I've heard others even at this meeting mention 1.1 square miles, and Wikipedia, which I know is not necessarily accurate, has 1 square mile. So if there's a definitive thing, we could consult with GIS folks at the county and their mapping programs to get that number super granular, potentially to the benefit of their citizens. That's it.
So to that point, Mr. McGrory, I think it would be most helpful for the council to make sure when documents like this are brought to us that you all make sure that it does have the exact information so we can avoid the back and forth that we're having to go through at the moment. With that, I'll open it up to feedback from the council. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, and I think we want our presenter went over this in the presentation. So the spotter will spot gunshots. So, but it will differentiate between fireworks or backfires or any other sounds. So, Chief, will you please chime in on that?
Yes, you're correct, Councilmember Brown. It does have the ability to separate those different sounds. And if everyone would take a couple of minutes and look at the 3-minute video link that I sent you, it is very detailed and specific. It gives a broad overview of the technology that it does have and offers. And I just support this. And I will just add that this is being used in over 130 cities right now, including Washington, D.C., as Mr. McGrory alluded to, as well as Baltimore City. So it is
the
been,
3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Can the link be put on the website for our residents to look at as well?
Yes, and it is in the chat. If you scroll up in the chat, I have it there, but I can ask Mr. Ray Jeffries if he can add it to the website as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments regarding ShotSpotter? And so Councilmember Rout, since you made the motion, I want to come back to you. Do you want to take the guidance of Mr. McGrory, just piggybacking off of other service agreements, or continue with the motion? My recommendation is that we continue just for legal sufficiency, so we're all assured.
Ma'am.
And with it being brief, I don't think Mrs. Ferguson would take too long with this, knowing the urgency.
I agree, and I would like for the motion to stand as stated.
Thank you so much for responding, Councilmember Rout. So with that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you all so much. At this time, the next item on tonight's agenda is falling under staff reports. I don't believe Mr. Hall is with us to give the Public Works report. So Mr. McGrory, if you could just wrap any updates in your administrator report, but we'll go to the treasurer's report, which is next.
Okay, I'm scared to share the screen again, but we're going to try it anyway real quick. Give me 1 second. Sorry, multiple windows.
Next meeting.
I will keep it brief. Okay, so since we just had the since we just went over the financials last meeting, I'm just going to touch on this briefly. The revenues, we received 83% of our revenues through February, and we've expended 62% of the budget. So we're still in a very good situation, 2/3 of the way through the fiscal year. As we're saying, we are seeing cost increase. But we will deal with that. Can everybody see my screen I'm sharing, I hope? Thumbs up. Okay. And something I really want to touch on is Jennifer Dodson is retiring. after 33 years of service to the town of Bladensburg. She will be retiring at the end of this month. It's gonna be a sad day. I've worked with Jen every day since I've been here for 6 years. She started out in public works, and as you can see from our Bladensburg newsletter from November, December of 1988, you can see when she joined the family here at Bladensburg. I thought that was a cool picture and, cool little piece of history there. So she will be missed, and we're gonna have a little going away thing for next Friday at Three Brothers here in town, and actively searching for her replacement. Tough shoes to fill. And I can tell you with finding somebody to replace her just became a little bit more difficult. I hate to say, because of rising fuel prices. That has played has had an effect on the candidate pool, unfortunately. But as I said, Jennifer will be here through the end of the month, and I can't say enough great things about her. So that's the bulk of my report. I'd just like to focus on Jen, who's been here for 33 years and who will be retiring. My financials are attached, and if you got any questions, you can always email me or contact me, and I'll get right back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. I'm so sad to hear Ms. Dodson is leaving. And I'm so grateful that your screen share actually worked, because that picture of her with curly hair, it must have been a perm. That was awesome. That is vintage Jen. I love it.
I'm not sure she knew if I shared that, but since it is public information, I thought it was okay to do. So.
She probably passed out. She always watches, so she probably passed out the moment.
I know she's probably saying, "Oh my
up.
gosh, I can't believe you posted that." But
Yeah.
So
You'll hear about it tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sure.
But thank you for that report. Next, we'll turn it over to Chief Collington.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to be brief, very brief, in consideration of the time. This month, the month of February, we responded to 777 calls for service within the town. And I'll just briefly touch on a couple of the Part 1 crimes. We had 4 aggravated assaults. We had 1 breaking and entering, 1 carjacking, and we had 8 auto thefts that were stolen in the month of February. One citizen armed robbery, and 1 theft from a building. And I do want to touch on the aggravated assaults that, and 2 of those, we did have a firearm discharge. And like I said earlier, we were able to make an arrest, did a search warrant, and I want to commend our Criminal Investigations Division, our Detective Lieutenant Gilbert and Sergeant Ramirez for an outstanding job. I mean, they never let up on this investigation, which led to a search warrant execution in the city of Hyattsville. And as they were ascending on the building with our allied law enforcement partners, the suspect threw a loaded firearm out the window. So we were able to seize that, take him into custody under the authority of a district court search warrant for first-degree assault. For our community service, I want, again, I just can't thank our Corporal Tanksley enough for his community outreach, the robust engagement that he provides each and every month with the youth programs. But on February the 5th, we had we had 5 citizens graduate from our Citizen Police Academy, which was phenomenal. And I just see the hard work that Corporal Tanksley put into these programs, and just for our residents coming out, how they are so engaged in it. And I'm encouraging more of our residents to partake in our enroll in our Citizen Police Academy. It's a 10-week course. It gives insight on what it's like to be a police officer. We put them through scenarios and see how they react. And then we explain to them, this is why officers make these very short and quick decisions based on the scenario that they're faced with. February the 5th, there was a cleanup with the youth, the explorers. They worked around Bladensburg High School, just doing a beautification in that area. On February the 10th, we had a coffee with the cop at the Casa Dora restaurant, and we want to thank our community partners for opening the doors for us each and every time we go out, and we just engage the community. We had a nice turnout. I want to thank Mayor was there, Council Member Brown came in, Council Member Mcbride, and just want to encourage everyone to come out and just have that engagement and that conversation over a cup of coffee. No agendas, just conversation about things that affecting the quality of life in the town of Bladensburg.
Councilmember Brown attended.
Yeah, I said Councilmember Brown.
Okay.
Yeah,
Councilmember Rao attended too.
That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
yes,
You know
right.
what? Please
Councilmember
forgive
Brown.
me. Councilmember Rouse did.
Because I ate all the pastries. I did.
Yes. Please forgive me. Yes, Councilmember Route was there as well. And this leads me to something that is near and dear to me, is always sitting down with our residents and just having that conversation, making myself available for our residents just to hear what's going on. And I want to solicit their ideas about what we can do to improve our services. So that being said, we sent out I did a video, a personal video to the community, asking for our residents. It's a call of action. I want to start our very first Coffee with the Chief Club each month. No agendas. I just want to hear from the residents, our seniors. I want to hear from everybody. If you don't have anything to do on this, as a matter of fact, it's this Thursday, the 17th. We'll be at 4909 Tilden Road. And this will be our first Coffee with the Chief Club. This will be our kickoff. And I want to get as many residents to join the club, come down, and let's sit down and let's talk about the things that matter to you, because if they matter to you, they matter to us in the police department. So our council members, you're welcome to come down as well. This is open to everybody. Everyone is invited to come down and join us. And this is from 10 to noon. And we will meet one day a month, and we can do different locations. But the goal of this is to get a core of residents from Ward 1 and Ward 2 to join me, sit down with the chief, and let's talk about ideas and concerns that you may have that I can push out to the police department, push out to our code enforcement and other areas, so that we can make sure we continue to meet the needs of our residents. And with that, looking forward to seeing everyone on this Thursday. It's the 17th, 4909 Tilden Road, right across the street at the Firehouse Training Center. I want to talk about
what time, Chief? What time?
It's from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And I want to thank our partners at Starbucks for stepping up to the plate once again, and they will be donating the coffee, hot chocolate, and then we will be purchasing the pastries and donuts.
Pastries, I'm there.
Good. And so I want to talk about some a few promotions that we made. We had a lot of we continue to develop our leaders here. When I first came to Bladensburg, I said my succession plan was to develop leaders from within. And I'm proud to say that we were able to promote last month 2 sergeants. We promoted Sergeant Maria Ramirez, Sergeant Patrick Thompson, Corporal Dwayne Humphreys, Corporal Chad Perez, Corporal Cedric Tanksley, Corporal Daryl Tompkins, and PFC Ty Tinsley. All of these officers have proven that they are team players here. They're showing up for work each and every day and doing the very best job that they can do for our residents. And for that, I want to continue to develop them. I want to continue to train them, because our best officers are our best trained officers. And I just want to take a minute, if we can all just congratulate them. If you see them out in the community, please congratulate them, please. Last, I want to talk about our code enforcement, our highlights. I'm so proud to have Miss Toma Tolliver join our team, along with Mr. Benjamin Moon, under the supervision of Sean Ronhart. They have gone these complaints. I welcome the complaints from our citizens, your concerns about parking, abandoned cars. We couldn't do our job if we didn't hear from you, because you are second eyes on the street, second set of eyes on the street. And we want to say thank you for that to each and every one of our residents. So the month of February, our code enforcement had 6 bulk trash reminder notices issued to residents for heavy trash at the curb. They removed 27 signs from poles, 26 from right-of-ways, total year-to-date 53. There were 35 abandoned vehicles in residential areas, 8 in business areas, 2 in the apartment areas, 14 were impounded. Year-to-date, they have removed 53 vehicles, abandoned vehicles. There were no grass violations, obviously. Code enforcement received 2 graffiti complaints that they gave some effort to mitigate those. Other code enforcement, well, that's okay for that. They insisted in other roles within the department, such as helping us with interviews, and assisted the fire department with the gas leak. And I just want to say again, I witnessed a tremendous act of humanity with our police department, our code enforcement officers. Last week we recovered 2 infant children, and it just broke my heart to see them. But 2 infant children were left inside of an apartment all day by themselves, and we got involved because maintenance went into the department to do work, and they discovered 2 children, one 5-month-old and one 1-year-old, left in a no food, and you can just imagine the conditions of the apartment that they were left in. The oldest child, 1-year-old, had to be transported because he was heavily congested, and these things shouldn't happen. But one thing I can say, I'm so proud of our staff who dug in their own pockets, include myself, to get diapers and food and milk and things like that, to give these kids, a proper meal. So I just want to say kudos to our team for coming together. And just, this is one thing that really I hold near and dear as well, is just giving back and seeing our team come together to take care of the needs of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, for that update. Let's see who's up next. Mr. Charnovich and Mr. Mcbride still have to go, and it is getting late. We're approaching 9 o'clock, so if you all could just be brief, we'd really appreciate that. Mr. Charnovich.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I will be brief. So 3 quick items. One piece of good news. I received word from the state that our grant extension for I believe it was the 57th Avenue lighting project, I think it was approved. So we have a grant extension for that through the end of this year. So now comes the implementation part. So we need to work on getting that done. Now that we got word that we got approved for that, that's great. So now it's time to roll our sleeves up and get to work and try and get that moving, get that completed, and use those grant funds. So I wanted to make mention of that. The second thing is that our mask and test kit distribution. has been launched. We have, if you want to give out some statistics and some data. So we have had about 160 signups via our Google form document that is released weekly on our town email blast for anyone who is watching out there this evening. And it's also posted on our website how you sign up via the Google form. We are also working with anyone who may not be as technologically able to sign up via that form. Please call the town hall and speak with Diane about arranging to get the test kits and the masks for that. We're also going to be working with our senior centers also as well. We just received another allotment from the county of the test kits and the masks. So I think we're going to be working closely with them too, knowing that they may not be monitoring all of our technology communication on a day-to-day basis. So a special thank you to Ray and Diane in our front office. I've been doing, most of the coordination, the organizing, the background as far as the organizing the distribution. I've handed out a few of the kits and the masks to our residents, but the special shout out goes to Diane and Ray, and a thanks to them for following our schedule we've been implementing for drop-bys to get the items. And I would also mention really quickly that on a personal standpoint, just for the residents out there, definitely try to sign up for the federal government program. If you're seeking test kits, they now extended it so you can sign up for 2 different distributions. I know my own personal household, I've done it online, and it actually happened very seamlessly for me. Both the first batch and the second batch I received within only a few days. I think it was maybe 3 to 5 business days, and it came via the USPS. So I think you can get a total of 8 test kits. I think it's 2 sets of 4, I believe, through that program. So keep that in mind also when you're seeking test kits. And then third, I guess for all the math geeks out there, happy Pi Day. That's all I would say. So there was a time in my life where I was really into Pi Day, and I realized as I got older that I lost my cool factor. So I don't celebrate Pi Day as much as I used to, but I was a bit of a math geek in my younger years. So enjoy Pi Day. Go have some pizza after this meeting.
Or just have pie for dinner.
That as well. Pizza pie or peach pie or any kind of pie. Apple
There
pie.
you go.
It's all good stuff.
Yep. Mr. Mcbride, time for you to share the town administrator report. And if there's any pertinent information from Public Works, feel free.
The Public Works report is provided in written form in the council packets and is available on the website. I'll let that speak for itself. I just want to add, I'm shocked and appalled to hear my esteemed colleague and department head, Mr. Chernovich, use the word geek in a description of himself. Hard to believe. And as one of those myself, I'm going to conclude my report by saying happy Pi Day, everyone. And I think much of the agenda this week and our support speaks for itself as my report. I do want to add, though, that I very much appreciate the team effort that has been involved, particularly over the past several months, in developing these legislative priorities, fleshing them out with the work of the architects and the engineers, and the iterative process back and forth, and the input and dialogue everyone has had on those 2 projects in particular regarding Bostwick and the Municipal Center, but also with the town code, the input I've received, and consolidating that and preparing it for the council. So I really appreciate the teamwork involved in that effort from my colleagues. And we're here to support y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes the staff reports, and we'll move forward with the mayor and council reports, beginning with Board 1, Councilmember Rout.
Thank you, Mayor James. I want to make this quick. I participated in the Coffee with a Cop. I was able to in the snow, lead the town vaccination event where we successfully provided boosters. We provided masks, test kits to those who came out. And we even gave out gift cards to those who were brave enough to take their vaccination. And a lot of our town residents appreciated that from the town council. I am so Bladensburg proud to be a part of the team that did the Black History Month celebration. I want to give public kudos, to Councilmember Brown and Mayor James and our staff who participated in that. That was truly awesome. Lastly, I just want to let the community know that I will be, now that the weather is breaking and my family is a little bit older, I will be going back out and doing my walkabouts in the community and also doing my Sunday cleanups that I was doing prior to being disabled temporarily. So look out for me to do that. And lastly, I want to just take some time to celebrate women. Women of color are one of the most highest rates who are passing away. And so I just want to take this time to celebrate women of color. Take some time for yourself to just appreciate yourself. We have a lot of people that are suffering from exhaustion as it relates to health issues. Mental health and wellness is important. So as women, as we take on the different responsibilities of bearing children, of being out, making sure our family is fine, let's take some time this Women's History Month to make sure we're okay. So whether that's taking a bath, taking a walk, cooking a special dinner, eating that extra pastry, it's okay. And so I just want to say happy Women's History Month to all the women and to our girls. You're a woman too, you're a little woman in training. Are you?
Thank you for that report, Councilmember Rout. Now we'll turn it over to Councilmember Brown from Ward 1.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, happy Women's History Month to all.
Yes.
We should all be celebrated. So happy Women's History Month to all. Women are just we're just phenomenal. We're just phenomenal. Chief, what can I say? Also, Black History Month program. Also, we definitely want to thank Officer Porter because he really, in the short period of time that he had, he really did, with the collaboration of the team, he really did finish a very fine and professional product for us. Do want us to be in prayer with Ukraine, and also if just these United States of America, and definitely, of course, always in prayer for Bladensburg. Just want to remind everyone that the 2022 General Assembly is 2 weeks away from crossover day. And that's when bills that have not been passed by one house or the other, or will not be able to be voted on by the other house, and would basically be dead, because as you all know, they have over 2,000 bills that they have to review, look at, and try to vote on in a short period of time. So, but in the next 2 weeks, we will definitely have a very clear understanding of which of the bills have been passed, and some just real quick snapshot, like you'll have HB House Bill, means House Bill 154, talking about food allergies. House Bill 459, juvenile justice reform. House Bill 16, unattended dogs. House Bill 19, safe walk to School Act. So those types of, and then they have Senate bills as well. So if you want to track the bills, you can go to mdlegislative.com, and that's spelled out. That's www.mdlegislative.com. And also, if you don't know who your representatives are, go to www.mdelect.net. That's www.mdelect.net. Thank you. And
Thank you for
enjoy
that.
the rest of your evening.
Sorry, thank you for that, Councilmember Brown. Next up, we have Councilmember Mcbride.
Good evening and happy Women's History Month also. My report will be brief. I did attend the Coffee with a Cop, and I was able to take one resident to Councilmember Rout's vaccination. And Ms. Murray is 90-some years old, so that was good. I attended 2 Zoom meetings for the farm committee that I just joined. And so they're doing a lot of work. I'll be interviewed on the 21st. And so I'm interested because I want to see how we can get our own stands with fruits and vegetables where we can have vendors to do, to sell their own, and how we can get some more accessible things for families, like cards for families to go to the grocery store and use for food. And let's see what else. Oh, I also finally finished my accomplishment of getting the seniors for Parkview COVID tested. And that was a goal I had been trying to do for like over a month. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you so much for that, Councilmember Mcbride. And just briefly, I know many of us, as Chief stated, attended the Community Action Team event, so I won't repeat on that. Separately, though, I did have the opportunity to submit written and verbal testimony for HB 0326, which is co-sponsored by Senators Paul Pinsky and Pam Beidel. This is basically trying to protect Maryland taxpayers from being on the hook if the maglev project runs into any sort of financial uncertainties. The developer continues to say that will not be the case. And so we're just trying to codify that so that we don't come back 10 years down the road and find that the project isn't as profitable and requires some sort of government bailout from the state of Maryland. So that continues. The same bill is cross-filed in the House. I believe it's Delegate Nicole Williams who sponsored that, but please continue to monitor that and look out. The other thing of note was I had the opportunity to join the Prince George's County Department of Environment. I'm a member of the Climate Action Project team. And so they invited certain members of the team to come in and brief the county council on the climate action plan for Prince George's County. So it was a privilege to be able to go before the county council. This is something that they mandated be done by the Department of Energy. Many other counties across the state are also developing climate action plans. And so the idea is that they would set some goals that municipalities can feed into to help make our communities more sustainable. Particularly, I tried to focus in a little bit more on some of the climate impacts that we experienced, like with the September 10th flash flood in 2020, and understanding or sharing and conveying the importance of infrastructure improvements to help with mitigation efforts to shore up our communities and make them more safe and resilient in the midst of these extreme climate shifts that we keep seeing, which are directly impacted by climate change. The rest of my report will be included in a written report. I'll get that out to everyone this week in the interest of time. And as we noted in the work session, did want to mention Councilmember Blunt couldn't be with us since we didn't amend the agenda to excuse her absence. I'll make a note for Mr. McGrory and Mr. Charnovich so we can make sure we do that at the April council meeting. But that brings us to the end of tonight's agenda. And so now I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Mcbride. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
Excuse me, I have something else to discuss. It's like I'm just playing right
Oh,
now.
I was like, did I miss something? Gotcha. All right. With
Go
that, I'll
ahead.
call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
All right. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
He was like, look.